Hello. Thanks for having me.
Number one app in G2. That's not easy.
It is, I mean, it is when you've got a bunch of great users like we do who have been very kind to write a bunch, I guess now over about 3,000 reviews. And we still actually have a perfect 5.0 score. So, honestly, I'm humbled by that like almost every day.
You sure it's not the puppy? Like, who's this puppy?
We don't even put the puppy in the onboarding. We should though. So we're winning brownie points sans puppies.
Let's get into it.
All right. Let me share my screen here. All right. Well, hello again. Richard White here, founder. I am the founder. I am also on the marketing team here. So I'll rep both a little bit. Though my background is engineering and product. Fathom's been live for gosh about 3 years now. As you mentioned, number one rated app on all of G2. Not just in our own category. We're the number one in AI meeting assistants, but just across all of G2. We're also the fastest growing app on the HubSpot marketplace as well. So I want to kind of show you two things today. One is I'll show you kind of the core product, Fathom product, which is actually free that you can use as an individual to take notes on your meetings. And then we'll kind of show you some of what we call our team edition product, specifically some new stuff we've been building that we actually just launched like 2 weeks ago, called Deal View, to help kind of sales leaders get a better view of what's happening in their deals. I've also got Emily from my team joining. She'll be in the chat if there's any questions. I'm happy to do any Q&A here on the way or at the end. We can kind of go from there. So let me first kind of show everyone kind of here's what it looks like after you have a meeting with Fathom. So again, you can go to fathom.video. You can sign up today. You could use it on your next Zoom, Google Meet, Microsoft Teams meeting. And then within about 30 seconds of the meeting ending, you'll get a view that looks like this. And there's a lot here, so I'm going to kind of walk through it. Obviously, I've got kind of a recording. I've got the recording. I can see the screen share, anything that happened. I've obviously got the entire transcript of the meeting as well. But what you really want that Fathom does for you is a really good set of notes about this meeting. We actually have at this point about 15 different types of note templates. So whether you just want a chronological summary or you want a Q&A or a demo, also if you're in sales, we've got Spice, Medic, Bant, any different types of notes you want. We've got about 15 templates built in. And we now actually have a way where you can tell the AI, here's how I want you to tweak these notes for me. You can have it add sections, remove sections, add more detail, et cetera, et cetera. So really want Fathom to be not just like this really free and easy to use, like, AI note taker, but one that actually gives you exactly the notes you're looking for out of your meetings. What's kind of cool about all of these notes that I think is pretty neat to Fathom is you'll notice as I hover over them, they're all links. And so I think there's there's a decent number of AI note takers now. Some of them just give you notes. And we think you don't really want notes. What you want are, I want to get back to that point in the call. We look at notes almost as like a table of contents. And I think it's especially important if you're a sales leader and you're, clicking into a call from a team member trying to figure out what's happening with the deal. I can read the notes, but I really want to click in on like, oh, I saw there's this debate about pricing. Let me click in and jump to that part of the call. So we think that's super important. Over here on the right, obviously we can see all the attendees from the call, all the action items that the AI found in the call. And these can be, and then these can get all synced to your CRM, whether that's Salesforce or HubSpot. So it automatically put all this kind of meeting summary data, all your action items as tasks into your CRM automatically. The last thing I want to show on this page, which is also new, is we now basically have kind of like a chat GPT-esque interface for Fathom. Like, so on an individual meeting, you kind of, ask any question of Fathom about like, it's kind of like a better search, did we discuss about design? And Fathom AI basically has the full context of the meeting, will give you kind of an answer and also give you back a link directly to watch that part of the meeting. So it's great for finding parts of the meeting. Again, especially if you're a sales leader, it's like, hey, was there like any objections that came up on this call? It's also great if you're an IC and you say, hey, right, generate a follow email to Philip. And so you actually use it to like generate content as well. And so you can copy and paste this directly into your mail client. We've seen people do all sorts of fun stuff with this. More recently, also use to generate like specs, or actually use to generate like a proposal or statement of work or stuff like that. But again, this is all what you get an individual meeting. Again, we give this to you within about 30 seconds of the meeting ending. We think that's super important. That Fathom is really easy to use, but also really fast. You don't want a system, like Zoom or Gong often take half an hour to get you this stuff. We don't want you to have to go through that experience. So that is kind of the core Fathom experience. There are some other things you can actually go into the transcript. If there's some part of the call and you're like, oh, this part's super interesting, I can create a highlight. Um, I can basically take any section of the meeting, then create a highlight, and I can grab a link to that highlight and drop it in Slack, send it to a team member. So the other thing we think is like super cool is you have a meeting, no one wants to watch your entire meeting, but if something interesting comes out of it, you want to share. Maybe it's product feedback, maybe it's objection with your manager you weren't sure how to handle. You can go ahead and highlight any part of the call, grab that highlight link, and send it to your colleagues. So that's kind of like the core Fathom experience for ICs. Let me kind of jump over and talk more now about what is it like if you're a manager, because it's where we've been spending a lot of our effort more recently. So we have another product called Fathom Team Edition, and really it stitches all these recordings into a team workspace. You have multiple teams on it. We often see sales teams and CS teams that they each have their own kind of video repository of all their meetings. You can put those meetings into folders, which is great for training. If you're coming from like Gong or something like that, you're very familiar. I think a lot of us use this for training. Hey, here's a folder of 10 good intro calls or 10 good demo calls. If you're someone new, go watch these and get ramped up on them. We also have some like light metrics in terms of talk time, monologues, questions asked, number of calls people have been having, et cetera, et cetera. But the thing I really want to share with you today, that's one of our newest features, is this deal view. As you can kind of see on the side, I've got kind of my top open deals, but if I click into it, I've got this kind of, here's all the deals open for my team. I can kind of see this like activity sparkle line that kind of gives me a sense of like, how many meetings did they have? How long ago were those meetings? So for Initech, I can see there are 2 meetings, but we haven't had any meetings in a couple weeks. This is like a 8-week kind of timeline. You can kind of see in some of these other ones, we have more recent meetings. Well, white dots represent like emails we received from the customer. So at a glance, if I'm doing a pipeline review, I can get a good sense of like, oh, we think this deal is going to close, at the end of this month. We haven't seen any activity on 3 weeks. We should click into it and see what's going on. And so let me click into this first one, the Initech deal. As you can see, what's kind of nice, you get this full picture of all the meetings that have happened on this deal, not just looking at one meeting at a time. So you can see there've been 3 meetings with this prospect. I get kind of a short summary on each one. Again, I could click in any of these and kind of get that same experience I just showed you over on the previous page. But now we have something extra where we've actually got a summary for the entire deal, not for a specific meeting. And yet again, we've got kind of the sales methodologies I think a lot of you use, Medic, Spice, Bant. And I can kind of get this entire. So now I can just look at it. I don't need to go. I don't want to read the summaries of the notes for each meeting. I just look at one thing and I get a sense of like, here's the pain points, here's specific requirements, et cetera, et cetera. The other thing we have that's pretty cool is we've got this concept of key people. So Fathom's actually looking at like, here are the top people on the deal. Here's their kind of roles, right? Decision making or economic buyer. I can go check out these people on LinkedIn. I can go look at them in my HubSpot integration, et cetera, et cetera. And last thing here, we also have the same kind of ask Fathom concept that I showed you for an intro meeting for a whole deal, right? And so like, we can ask any question of this, of the Fathom kind of chat GPT kind of interface, and it will kind of spit out the answer to this. And also, again, give you links back to that part of the meetings to go find it. So now if I'm reviewing deals, I don't need to go through, watch a bunch of recordings. I can go here, get like one kind of 10,000 foot view picture, and I can drill into any part of this deal that I want to. One thing that I'm really excited about that's coming out probably next week is, going back to the summary, there's a lot of things in here that you want in your CRM, right? Like pain points or specific requirements or tech stack. And a lot of you probably have fields in HubSpot where you track this and you probably browbeat all your reps to try to fill it in. Well, starting next week, you won't have to worry about that because we're going to have basically the ability for you to map any one of these sections to fields in your CRM, and you can automatically have Fathom fill in those sections of your CRM for you. So that's it. Other things in Fathom, we also have a playlist on Team Mission, so you can basically stitch together like, hey, I want to put together all the product feedback I've seen, put it into a single playlist, share it. So I showed you earlier how to share a single highlight from a meeting. Here I can share multiple highlights from a meeting, from multiple meetings, right? So I could have Here is all the various, here's a bunch of use case highlights. Here is things going down here. Like, we use this one a lot. Here's Fathom versus Gong. And here's a bunch of about a, I don't think anyone's going to spend 76 minutes, but we have a whole lot of highlights, people saying why they've chosen Fathom over Gong. And the last thing I'll show is kind of like we have this concept of keyword alerts. So you can get notified in real time anytime certain words come up. We see this used a lot for competitor mentions, but also things maybe your product team cares a lot about, like if they're trying to keep track of like when are certain integrations coming up or things like that. So yeah, so that is both Fathom kind of core free product and team edition. And I know we're almost at time, so I'll pause there and see what questions we've got, if any.
Thank you so much, Richard. Yep, we got a lot of questions in the AMS, and one of them is, why did you call it Fathom?
I wish I had like a really good story for this, but we actually just had our head of marketing like, I was like, find me every 5 to 6 letter word that fits one of these TLDs. That's a verb or an adjective. And then we just kind of shortlisted it from there. But I think it works out really well because the Fathom is to kind of to understand. And so if I was a better marketer, I probably would just kind of concoct some kind of, oh yeah, we always thought Fathom was to understand, deeply sort of thing. But honestly, it was just like a statistical analysis of what TLDs are available.
Funny. We try to be vendor neutral. Let's do it. Why would solution like Gong do messaging? Seems pretty wide from the original mission.
Sorry, I missed that last part.
Seems pretty wide from the original mission.
Oh, what is?
Messaging as a feature in solutions like Gong.
You'd have to ask them. I think they got to this place where their core product is really expensive for what it is today. 5-10 years ago, paying $130 or so for a seat of this. I mean, Fathom, we charged 20 to 30 bucks per seat. And so I think rather than lower their prices, they did what a lot of companies do, which is massively kind of expand their product to try to kind of justify high price points. And honestly, that's why we see a lot of folks. We actually have a promo going on right now where if you are on Gong or really any existing CI product, Chorus, you name it, we will migrate. But on Gong, especially, we will migrate your data for free. We will give you Fathom for free, unlimited use to the end of your current Gong contract. We're that confident that you will, love using Fathom. We think you'll not only love the product, we think your reps will love the product, and we think we can save you, about 80% on your Gong bill.
One more question. How do you create the connection with users at a level to prepare to number one?
I think, yeah, I think that's, part of, honestly, one of the part of the secret sauce is just building a really good product and giving a lot of it away for free. And I think when you give a lot away for free, people feel a lot of gratitude. And when we ask them, hey, seems like you're really loving the product, would you mind writing a review? I'm always humbled by how many people will take time out of their day to do that, because G2 doesn't make it easy anymore. It takes like 15 minutes, 20 minutes to write a review now. So it means a lot. We have literally hundreds of people a month that write those reviews. And I think it's, again, we really believe in giving a lot away for free because that leads to a lot of viral growth and leads to a lot of goodwill.
And last question, promise. Can you share why you build certain features but not others? Seems like other solutions might build more features, but they're not as user-friendly.
Yeah, I think my background is in product design. And so I think this is a product you're using in a hurry. You're always in a meeting. None of us are ever not in a hurry on a meeting. So I think it's super important that Fathom is really easy to use. It's easy to get into the meeting. It's easy to kick it out of your meeting if you don't want it. And so we prioritize kind of ease of use over just throwing a bunch of features at you.
Thank you so much, Richard. Justin
Thank
Michael.
you.
Very cool. Yeah, we got a lot of people that love this product in the community. And here I am back on Microsoft PowerPoint, learning how to use that again. So that's fun. Yeah, please support Fathom, Richard White, and Emily. And we're going to keep this moving.
What's the name of your dog, Richard?
Yeah.
Thank you.
One more supporter.